For an update, we're now joined by Johannesburg City Power Spokesperson Mangena. A very good evening to you, Isaac. Thank you so much for your time. The substation blaze left parts of Johannesburg in the dark and forced the closure of some roads. Has power been restored in the affected areas?
Good evening and good evening to the viewers at home. Good evening to the viewers at home. No, the power is not being restored to the residents that were affected by this fire. We still basically are waiting for the emergency services to grant us access to the site where the fire basically happened. We were waiting basically throughout the day. We're not doing much except basically for the fire services to basically put out the flames and clear the smoke. That process only ended this evening. When I left the site whereby they basically cleared the smoke, even though it's still billowing from under a little bit of it. But the highway is open. So as City Power, we haven't really started the work. The work will only start immediately when that certificate of clearance has been given by the EMS, which we are told that will happen probably tomorrow morning. And from then, that's when we'll be able to do the assessments of the extent of the damage and be able to determine the amount of work that we need to put before we can even, notify the customers of the estimated time of return of electricity. So currently, as things stand, the areas that were affected by the fire, that include Braamfontein, part of the CBD, especially around the pre-taxi rank, and also parts of Newtown and so forth, are still in the dark as I'm talking to you.
Yeah. With the residents still in the dark, I know you haven't spoken or perhaps had a chance to get a full assessment of the work that lies ahead, but insofar as the possible scope of the work, do you have an idea on what you're facing, just listening and interacting to officials on the ground who are yet to hand over that authorization for you to go ahead?
Yeah, so basically the area that is affected by this fire is about 500 meters in terms of the distance. That is the distance of the area where our infrastructure is lying. Most of it is the 88,000 volts oil cable. We also have another 88,000 volts cable, and also the 11 kV cables that are running through there from Braamfontein Substation, which is right next to Smith Street, going down, passing Car Street, going towards Pottsburg Substation. So those are that is where our infrastructure, basically most of the damage where it is. So we can only be able to verify exactly the extent of that when we basically get that clearance of us to go inside to see exactly what is bent, what can be repaired, what can be replaced, and we will be able to deal with that. By the look of things, on face value, it really looks like it's a serious damage that has been caused underground. You'll remember that this fire basically started around this time last night, and it was put out. We thought it was put out, but in the morning when we arrived on site, we found that actually there's still smoke underground, and that's when we called EMS to basically come back and ensure that they deal with this. So give or take, we are looking at it started. We've had 24 hours of fire underground, and it can give you an idea of how much work we may have to basically face when we start with this. So that's why we are hoping, we are not basically looking that we will be able to restore electricity tomorrow, even though our technicians were going around with the plans around the network to see if there are any opportunities for us to backfeed some of the areas that are affected by this fire.
With that scope still unclear, what does it mean for residents? Are we talking that on estimation, restoration could be a couple of days, or perhaps even go further than that, just looking at the extent of damage at face value?
At face value, we're definitely tomorrow we won't have lights, we won't restore electricity. Probably late Friday, Saturday, we can be able to say when can we be able to restore electricity. So I think the residents in that area will basically go to the early days of the weekend without the lights. But like I said, we are also looking at the alternatives to backfeed to see if we can feed some of those customers from some of the nearby substations, including Bree substation and also Fort substations, which is next to Hillbrow. With those, we are looking at the drawings of the network to see if we are able to basically backfeed some of those customers. So we may or may not by tomorrow be able to say, are we able to connect some of these customers, or we should actually give them the correct time going into the weekend to see if we can be able to restore them that time.
Very well. Thank you so much for that update. Let's leave it there for now. Isaac Mangena speaking for City Power, giving us an update on when the lights will be turned on for residents affected by the impact of that blaze. We continue to bring you more news.